It's the 16th of December 2024. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst's Primetime Bulletin coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. Bringing you the news this evening for the Newsfirst team, I am Jayamal Ratnayaka.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
The Lanka T10 Super League 2024 from the 11th to the 19th of December.
President Dissanayake afforded grand welcome in India. India has full confidence in Anurakumara Disanayake's leadership and will continue to be a steadfast and reliable partner for Sri Lanka, Modi assures. Sri Lanka would not allow any activities on its soil that could undermine India's security, Anura emphasizes. All-share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange maintains rapid growth, crosses 14,500 points for the first time ever. Parliament to select new speaker tomorrow after Asoka Ranwala's resignation. How was an untrue title added in front of the Justice Minister's name? Minister complains to the CID. Civil activist goes to CID over Namal's qualifications.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
The Lanka T10 Super League 2024 from the 11th to the 19th of December.
In your top story tonight, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi reaffirmed India's steadfast commitment to supporting Sri Lanka, emphasizing the nation's role as a reliable and trusted partner. The statement was made during a meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Anurakumara Dissanayake in New Delhi today.
At a joint media briefing following the bilateral talks, Prime Minister Modi expressed strong confidence in President Disanayake's leadership, highlighting India's trust in his efforts to strengthen bilateral relations. President Anurakumara Dissanayake, in turn, assured Prime Minister Modi that Sri Lanka will not allow any activities on its soil that could compromise India's security.
We are providing training in agriculture, dairy production and the fisheries industry. As part of these initiatives, Sri Lanka will be introduced to an innovative digital mapping system. Both countries are in complete agreement, especially concerning our shared defence goals. Our collaboration is strengthening and we are making swift progress in finalising the activities under the Agreement on Defence Cooperation. A key decision has been made to enhance defence collaboration and maritime surveillance, which will significantly contribute to regional security. We are confident that the Colombo Security Conclave will serve as an essential platform for both security and development. This framework will facilitate greater cooperation in areas such as maritime security, counter-terrorism, cybersecurity and the fight against organized crime, as well as strengthen humanitarian assistance and disaster response. The partnership between the people of India and Sri Lanka is grounded in a deep cultural and civilizational bond. India's introduction of the Pali language has elevated it to the status of a classical language, and Sri Lankans are actively studying it. We also have made progress in enhancing connectivity with services like ferry service and successful resumption of flights between Chennai and Jaffna. These efforts have bolstered our cultural ties. The launch of the ferry between Nagapattinam and Kankasanture is a notable success, and we are now preparing to introduce a similar service between Rameshwaram and Talaimanna. Through tourism focused on Buddhist heritage sites and the Ramanya Trail, we are creating new opportunities for Sri Lanka. We have discussed the livelihoods of fishermen and agreed to address these matters with a humanitarian approach. We also held discussions about the constitutional reforms and reconciliation process led by President Anurakumara Dissanayake, and he shared his vision and approach, which I fully support. We hope Sri Lanka will honour the aspirations of the Tamil people in the north and east. Through constitutional processes and provincial council elections, we anticipate our partnership will be publicly affirmed. I have assured President Anurakumara Dissanayake of India's unwavering support for the many initiatives aimed at Sri Lanka's development. India has full confidence in his leadership. We will continue to be a steadfast and reliable partner for Sri Lanka.
भरोसेमंद और विश्वसनीय पार्टनर बना रहेगा।
श्रीलंका पार्लिमेंटुවේ දැන් තනි ජනවරමක් යටතේ මෙතෙක් තේරිපත් වූ වැඩිම නියෝජිතයින් සංඛ්‍යාව සහිත පාර්ලිමේන්තුව බවට පත්ව සිටින
Sri Lanka's parliament now has the highest number of elected representatives under a single mandate. The overwhelming support extended by the people of Sri Lanka to the National Democratic Forces under my leadership marks a historic moment in the nation's history. The recent presidential and parliamentary elections have, for the first time, seen the emergence of a people's mandate and lays the foundation for a new political culture in Sri Lanka. This transformation has been made possible by the people of all regions, including the North, South, East and West, who contributed to this people's mandate. As the leader entrusted with such a significant responsibility, I firmly believe that the heart of democracy lies in the coexistence of various political ideologies and groups. Our cultural ties form a strong foundation for the relationship between our two countries. With the goal of strengthening people-to-people connections, we held discussions on expanding cooperation in the tourism sector. In the regional and multilateral context, I appreciated India's role as the leading state in the global south. Prime Minister Modi expressed India's full support for Sri Lanka's chair of the IORA. I also requested Prime Minister Modi's continued support for Sri Lanka's aspiration to become a member of the BRICS organization. Regarding Sri Lanka's submission to the United Nations Commission on the limits of the continental shelf concerning the establishment of boundaries beyond the exclusive economic zone, I requested Prime Minister Modi's assistance in convening bilateral technical discussions on the matter at the earliest opportunity. I also expressed my appreciation for the recent meeting of the 6th meeting of the Joint Working Group on Fisheries, which focused on promoting sustainable solutions to fisheries-related issues. We discussed the need for a collaborative approach to resolve these challenges, recognizing the environmental harm caused by illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing activities, especially bottom trawling. I urge the cessation of such practices, which result in irreversible ecological damage. I am pleased to announce the exchange of MOUs to prevent double taxation and strengthen capacity building of government officials. I also invited Prime Minister Modi to visit Sri Lanka at a mutually convenient time to further strengthen our relationship. I assured Prime Minister Modi that Sri Lanka will not allow its territory to be used in any way that could compromise India's security or the stability of the region.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ සංචාරක නියන ලෙසට මා අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය මෝදි මැතිතුමාට ආරාධනා කළා. ඉන්දියාවේ ආරක්ෂාවටත් කලාපයේ ස්ථාවරයට හානිදායක වන කිසිදු ආකාරයකින් සිය භූමිය යොදා ගැනීමට ශ්‍රී ලංකාව ඉඩ නොදෙන බවට මා ඉන්දියානු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමාට පොරොන්දු වුණා. සහතික වුණා.
That concludes the press statements. Thank you for your presence, ladies and gentlemen.
Memorandum of Understandings on the avoidance of double taxation and capacity building for government officials were exchanged in the presence of the leaders of both countries. On behalf of Sri Lanka, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Sri Lankan High Commissioner to India were involved in the process. On the Indian side, the discussions included the Minister of External Affairs and the Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs. Before the discussions on these agreements, President Dissanayake and Prime Minister Modi held bilateral talks, which were attended by Sri Lanka's Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijitha Herath, Deputy Minister of Economic Development Professor Anil Jayantha and others. On the Indian side, the discussions included the participation of the Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar, the Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs Vikram Misri and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. The discussions also focused on strengthening Sri Lanka's ties with India by establishing electricity grid connections and a multi-product petroleum pipeline. These initiatives aim to provide technical support to Sri Lanka in the areas of physical, digital and energy infrastructure, marking a new chapter in bilateral relations with a forward-looking vision. Both leaders had in-depth discussions on advancing Indian development cooperation projects. This includes support for upgrading the signalling system on the Anuradhapura railway line and upgrading the Kankasanthurei port. Under India's educational cooperation program, scholarships for 200 students from universities in Jaffna and the Eastern Province are said to be provided monthly starting next year. Prime Minister Modi also agreed to train 1,500 Sri Lankan civil servants in India over the next 5 years. Prime Minister Modi hosted a luncheon in honour of President Dissanayake. During the meeting, President Dissanayake extended an invitation to Prime Minister Modi to visit Sri Lanka.
The Indian External Affairs Ministry held a media briefing today on President Anurakumara Dissanayaka's visit to India.
This is President Dissanayke's first bilateral visit in this capacity after assuming the presidency. And the fact that he has chosen India to be his first foreign destination after assuming office as president in itself demonstrates the importance that Sri Lanka attaches to the bilateral relationship with India. As you all know, Sri Lanka is also India's closest maritime neighbor and has been an integral part of India's neighborhood first policy and India's vision Sagar. The two countries are civilizational partners with a unique friendship, and India has time and again demonstrated that it is a dependable partner and a reliable friend for Sri Lanka. Whether it is disasters, mishaps at sea, the COVID pandemic, or indeed the very serious economic crisis that confronted Sri Lanka just a couple of years ago, India has been present in the role of a first responder. Our support has been timely, swift, and most importantly, unconditional, underlining our position as a responsible and friendly neighbor of Sri Lanka. President Dissanayake, in fact, acknowledged the same during the discussions today with the Prime Minister and thanked Prime Minister for India's support.
President Anurakumara Dissanayake, currently on a 3-day official visit to India, was formally welcomed today at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the official residence of the President of India. The ceremonial reception began with President Dissanayake being escorted to the Rashtrapati Bhavan by a horseback parade. He was warmly greeted by Indian President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The event included a 21-gun salute, marking the occasion with full state honours. Representatives from both nations were introduced to the leaders. After the reception, President Dissanayake visited the Mahatma Gandhi Memorial at Rajghat to pay his respects. To commemorate his first official overseas visit, he planted an Ashoka tree at the Gandhi Darshan premises near Rajghat and signed the guest book. President Anurakumara Dissanayake met with top Indian officials including Minister of Corporate Affairs Nirmala Sitharaman, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Extensive discussions were held between President Dissanayake and Minister Sitharaman on enhancing Indo-Sri Lankan economic cooperation and expanding investment opportunities between the two countries. The talks also covered bringing more Indian tourists to Sri Lanka, modernizing Sri Lanka's agriculture sector and developing digital infrastructure. The President's meeting with Dr. Jaishankar was marked by a cordial atmosphere where attention was focused on exploring the potential for utilizing India's vast market to aid Sri Lanka's economic recovery. Dr. Jaishankar affirmed India's commitment to supporting Sri Lanka in the tourism, investment and energy sectors. The discussions also addressed areas of mutual interest such as advancing the fisheries industry and fostering national unity in Sri Lanka. Later, President Dissanayake met with India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval to discuss regional security matters.
The Colombo Stock Exchange's all-share price index recorded an all-time high once again today.
The all-share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange recorded an all-time high, closing at 14,500.44 points. The ASPI increased by 295.1 points, surpassing Friday's record of 14,205.34 points. The S&P SL20 was recorded at 4,349.82 points. According to the CSC, a turnover of 8.2 billion rupees was recorded at the close of trade today.
Newsfirst with the people.
In more local news, the position of the Speaker in Parliament, which became vacant following the resignation of Asoka Ranwala, is expected to be filled by a Member of Parliament tomorrow. While Parliament is scheduled to convene tomorrow, party leaders met today and discussed this week's parliamentary activities.
The Parliament is scheduled to convene at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, during which 9 new members of Parliament are expected to take their oaths. Thereafter, the appointment of the new Speaker is expected to take place.
The selection and appointment of the new Speaker is to be carried out. It is to be carried out according to the Article 64 of the Constitution and Parliamentary Standing Orders 2 and 4. We hope to appoint the Speaker in accordance with the Standing Orders and the Constitution.
Samagi Janabalawega MP Nalin Bantara has called for the resignation of Deputy Speaker Dr. Rizvi Saleh.
The Deputy Speaker Rizvi Saleh has referred to himself as a specialist doctor. However, he has entered Parliament in violation of the Medical Ordinance Act, which was passed by the Parliament itself. This Act clearly outlines the qualifications required to be recognized as a specialist doctor. To be recognized as a specialist, one must hold a certificate from the Postgraduate Institute of Medicine, even if a doctor studied abroad before the establishment of this institute. They are still required to obtain this certification. It is evident that the Deputy Speaker has not acquired it. Therefore, it would be best for him to resign immediately and cease claiming to be a doctor. We will also be taking legal action against him.
Deputy Speaker Dr. Rizvi Saleh recently posted a note on his qualifications on his Facebook account. He said he holds an MBBS degree from Nishtar Medical College in Multan, Pakistan, completed in 1986, and a diploma in laryngo-otorhinology from the University of Colombo. He added that he is a registered medical practitioner with the Sri Lanka Medical Council. Meanwhile, the lawyers of the Aragale organisation convened a media briefing today and called for all members of Parliament, including the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, to publish their academic qualifications.
කාලෙකම මැතිවරණයක් කෙට්ටු වෙනකොට මූලිකවම ප්‍රශ්න කරන තත්ත්වයක් තමයි ඔය සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්මයාගේ අධ්‍යාපන සුසු.
By now we know that each time an election comes along, Sajith Premadasa's academic record is questioned. I believe this is the opportune moment for him to publicize his qualifications because an open forum has formed. Everyone from the government and the opposition must back their titles, if they have any. Sajith Premadasa should lead the charge of the opposition. He too must publish his O-level, A-level and any tertiary educational qualifications.
දැන් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්මයාටත් පුළුවන් තමන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපන සුසුකම් දැන් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna expressed views on the matter during a media briefing today.
මං හිතන්නේ නැහැ මේ වගේ තමන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපන සුදුසුකම්
I do not believe that an individual who has falsely and deceitfully mispresented their educational qualifications should be allowed to hold a parliamentary seat. It is clear that the promises made to the public must be fulfilled. This issue is not limited to the Speaker alone. We have observed several others who are similarly involved. If President Anurakumara Dissanayake takes decisive action to address this matter and demonstrate the commitments he made to the people are being upheld, it would be a positive step.
ඒක හොඳයි නැත්තම් ඉතින් අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ ක්‍රියාවත් අර රජුරුවන්ට හකුරු හැදුවා වගේ වැඩක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
Jamuni Kamanta Tushara, the chairman of the Citizens Movement Against Fraud, Corruption and Waste, filed a formal complaint with the Criminal Investigation Department today regarding issues related to Namal Rajapaksa's Law College examination. At the time of filing the complaint, Attorney-at-Law Harshana Nanaikara, the Minister of Justice, was also present at the Criminal Investigation Department and he was questioned on the matter.
අධිකරණ ඇමතීන් දහන්නේ දැන් අද මන් දැම්ම අපි සිවිල් සංවිධානයක් වශයෙන් පිළිගත් නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ මන්ත්‍රීවරයාගේ නීතිඥ වෘත්තිය ගැන ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. එයාගේ නීතිය විද්‍යාලයේ හිටපු ශිෂ්‍යයෙක් ඒ වෙලාවේ පැමිණිලි කළා තියෙනවා. පිසියට පැමිණිලි කරන්න ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි එයා අදත් එට්ටම් කළා දැන් රට ඉන්නේ. මේක නීතිය සම්බන්ධින්ද අධිකරණ කටයුත්තෙන් මේ නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න පුළුවන්ද මේක?
ඉස්සෙල්ලම ඔය ලිපිය අද උතුමා පැමිණිලි ආවේ.
පැමිණිලි කරාම
එහෙනම් CID ගෙන් විමර්ශනයක් කරાવી.
කරයිද?
එතනින් එහාට මට කතා කරන්න බෑ.
ඔව් මෙහෙමයි දැන් අපිට දැනගන්න විදිහේ CID ගේ පරණ නිලධාරීන් ඉඳලා මේ විමර්ශන නොපිටට වගේ යන්නේ.
සැක කරන්න එපා. පැමිණිල්ල කළා යන්න. උතරින් එහාට මට මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ප්‍රකාශයක් කරන්න බෑ. හැමත නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා.
ඒකට මම කොහේ හරි අධිකරණ මොනවාද කමිෂන් සභාවටත් පැමිණිලි කරන්න ඕනද?
අවශ්‍ය තැනකට කරන්න. අවශ්‍ය තැනකට.
ඔබතුමාගේ යටතේ තියෙන
මම කාටවත් නීති උපදෙස් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මම මේ රටේ අධිකරණ ඇමතිවරයා. නීතිඥවරයෙක් කරා උපදෙස් අරගෙන ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්න.
Minister of Justice and National Integration, Attorney Harshana Nanayakara, expressed suspicion that an attempt is underway to damage the credibility of the National People's Power. He made this statement in response to an issue on the parliamentary website where the title Doctor was erroneously added before his name. Following this, he filed a complaint with the Criminal Investigation Department requesting an investigation into the incident.
With over 25 years of experience in the legal profession, I am a senior attorney. I have never used the title doctor before my name, nor have I ever included it on a business card. The information I submitted in my professional documents clearly stated that I do not hold a doctorate. If I do not possess such a title, then when and how did this title appear? Although I have withdrawn my complaint, we must recognize that this is not an isolated issue. When viewed in the broader context, any reasonable person would be left without doubts. If someone is attempting to tarnish my reputation or undermine the trust placed in my political career by falsifying information, it is only natural for a fair-minded person to question this. As such, I have requested that the CID conduct a thorough investigation. If anyone is found to have acted inappropriately, they should be held accountable. This is not about targeting individuals, but rather about understanding how this wrongdoing occurred. I also discussed the matter with my legal team. The mental anguish caused by this incident, along with the defamatory content directed at my character, was widely disseminated in the media. Given this, I have instructed my legal team to consider filing a civil lawsuit to seek compensation for any damages I have suffered. I must say this, whether it is the Rajapaksas or Ranil, those who have been corrupt for over 70 years, this is the beginning of a revolution. Once they had no valid arguments left against us, they resorted to such tactics. Let me be clear, this is not the proper way to frame the issue. It's merely an effort to clarify the situation. Right now, the dog might be sitting quietly somewhere, but once unleashed, there will be people everywhere. These people do not disappear just because the dog is gone. They remain scattered across various places. These are the hidden forces at work, operating behind the scenes. Therefore, we must carefully examine each case individually and take the necessary steps to remove these detrimental elements from our government system.
Former Member of Parliament Jagat Kumara held a media briefing today announcing that he and his group would be leaving the Samagi Janabalawegaya.
Jagat Kumara, who was elected to the previous parliament from the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna, supported the Samagi Janabalawegaya during the presidential election. However, today, addressing the media, he said that the faith in the SJB has been shattered.
The current opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has been inviting me to join him over the past 2 years. In response, I decided to sign a memorandum of understanding and offer my political support. He provided me with several documents to fill out various roles. Initially, I was appointed as the Kaduile electorate organizer for the Samagi Jana Sandhanaya, later as the co-organizer in Avisavella, then as the chief organizer in Avisavella, followed by the co-organizer in Homagama, and eventually as the head of the poverty alleviation program. These numerous appointments were entrusted to me. However, none of these positions were ever implemented, neither during the election period nor afterward. Even after Sajith Premadasa assumed the position of opposition leader again, no discussions were held to address the necessary plans or procedures. Ultimately, after serving as the co-organizer in Avisavella, I resigned from that role and moved to Homagama as the co-organizer. Throughout this time, the former organizers continually imposed obstacles. Yet, as the party leader, he failed to address these issues. As a result, I came to the conclusion that continuing to work with him would create insurmountable challenges for us. Within the SJB, I could not stand by and allow my supporters, many of whom were former members of the urban and provincial councils, to be abandoned and their political futures destroyed. We have reached a decisive turning point. We are now looking forward to leading a new political movement at the national level. The trust that once existed in the SJB has been undermined by the party leadership.
සමගි බලවේගයේ පිළිබඳව තිබුණු විශ්වාසය පක්ෂයේ නායකත්වයේ ඉතින් සම්පූර්ණයෙන් නැති කරා.
South Korea's Constitutional Court has begun trial proceedings for the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol, who was suspended for declaring martial law and plunging his country into political turmoil.
MPs voted to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol last Saturday after his actions sparked widespread protests calling for him to step down. The court now has 6 months to decide whether to remove Yoon or reinstate him. While public hearings for Yoon's impeachment trial could take months, the court is under pressure to decide quickly and bring an end to political uncertainty. Protesters have vowed to keep up their calls for Yoon's removal during court proceedings. If the court upholds impeachment in Yoon's case, the country must hold fresh presidential elections within 60 days. In the meantime, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo will serve as the acting president. Yoon's ruling People Power Party, or the PPP, has been grappling with the fallout ever since, with its leader announcing his resignation today. It is unclear if Yoon will take the stand himself during the court hearings. He ignored a summon to meet prosecutors in Seoul yesterday and is said to be ordered in again for questioning. If he fails to come forward this week, police may move to arrest him. Yoon has defended his decision to impose martial law, and after his impeachment he once again said he would fight until the end.
Several hundred people are feared dead on the French island of Mayotte in the Indian Ocean after cyclone Chido brought wind speeds of 225 kilometers per hour.
Residents of Mayotte have spoken of apocalyptic scenes caused by the worst storm in 90 years to hit the French Indian Ocean territory. Authorities said they were having difficulty establishing the number of deaths due to the large number of undocumented migrants, over 100,000 in a population of 320,000. Widespread damage to infrastructure with downed power lines and impassable roads severely hindered emergency operations. A first flight with supplies arrived for emergency shelters, but there were severe shortages of food, water and shelter in certain areas. French President Emmanuel Macron said there was a need for urgency as he committed to sending reinforcements to the French island territory of Mayotte over the weekend. After clearing away from Mayotte, Cyclone Chido continued its path westwards and made its third landfall yesterday, just south of Pemba in Mozambique, where it uprooted trees, damaged buildings and brought flash flooding about 25 miles south of the northern city of Pemba. 3 deaths have been reported so far. The cyclone caused structural damage and power outages in the northern coastal provinces of Nampula and Cabo Delgado on Saturday morning as well. The storm then continued to advance inland through Mozambique and Malawi. As it now moves overland, the winds are weakening rapidly and the storm has been downgraded to a depression. Mayotte is one of the poorest parts of France, with many of the 300,000 population living in shanty towns. It lies in the north of the Mozambique Channel, off the coast of the Southeast Africa, between Madagascar and Mozambique.
Bitcoin soared to a record high above $106,000 today.
Bitcoin, the world's biggest and best-known cryptocurrency, hit a high of $106,533 after President-elect Donald Trump suggested he plans to create a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve similar to its strategic oil reserve. Smaller crypto Ether rose 1.2% to $3,952. The incoming Trump administration is seen as being far more friendly towards cryptocurrencies than the Biden White House. On Thursday, the U.S. President-elect reiterated reiterated that he is considering creating a national stockpile of the digital currency similar to the country's strategic oil reserve.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Feel the love.
Welcome back to the news. Taking a look at more news from here at home. Locals of Colombo spotted a rare sight earlier today when a pod of whales had beached on the coastline near Bambalapitiya this evening. Let's now take a look at the visuals of that scene.
In more local news, Dr. Kalinga Senaviratne's latest publication was launched in Colombo today.
The Sri Lanka launch of Dr. Kalinga Senaviratne's publication, Geopolitics and the Media in Asia and the Pacific, Pulling in Different Directions, took place today. Former diplomat Dr. Palitha Kohana delivered the keynote address.
The volume that he had just presented to me, Geopolitics and the Media in the Asia Pacific, will, I'm sure, be a major contribution to learning and research on the subject. It delves deep into hitherto unexplored details. It will be a valuable research for students, academics, and the casual reader.
This book is a warning to media practitioners and scholars, as well as political observers in the region, to be wary of Western designs, or should I say plots, in the region. It is hoped that the book will promote peaceful coexistence in Asia, where any tensions could be resolved peacefully and not through warmongering.
The book, published by Cambridge Scholars Publishers in the UK, deals with how the media is fermenting big power conflicts in Asia and the Pacific region. The official launch was followed by an open discussion session as well. And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.